Welcome to a video presentation of Preservation Connecticut and the State Historic Preservation Office. My name is Michael Farino of Preservation Connecticut, and in this video I sit down with Garry Leonard, architect and member of the Board of Preservation Connecticut, to discuss the importance of preservation plans, maintenance plans, and condition assessments for ensuring the long-term success of historic preservation projects. We are here with Garry Leonard to discuss preservation planning and the importance of maintenance in historic structures. And Garry is a licensed architect with a great deal of experience in historic preservation planning. Groups and individuals just starting out in historic preservation are often confused between different preservation documents, specifically the difference between preservation plans, maintenance plans, and condition assessment. Garry, could you start by telling the viewers what a condition assessment is and when it is needed and why it isn't?
The condition assessment is really the very first step. It really takes a holistic look at the entire structure, all of its systems, structural, the cosmetic aspects, the historic aspects, mechanical, electrical, plumbing aspects of the building, fire protection, code compliance, all of those things to see, take a physical assessment of the condition of all of those aspects of the building, and then puts that into a plan. Oftentimes includes estimates of the cost associated with the problems that are found, and then prioritizes them in a way that the organization should approach solving those problems.
It seems that the condition assessment should often be the first step, as it is an essential tool for developing a base knowledge of a building before other planning can be done.
It's like having your annual physical in a way. You go and they look at all of the parts and see what the condition is so that you can better judge what you need to solve right now, and also to just apportion the resources that you have and plan fundraising that you need, whether it's going after grants or whether it's going to your congregation or your constituency to raise the money. The preservation plan is a plan to move forward, and you can only develop a plan to move forward once you understand what the problems are. The condition assessment allows you to go through the structure in a systematic way and develop estimated ballpark costs for the various problems that you find, so that you then can develop your preservation planning and have a way to fund it.
So Garry, when a condition assessment comes back, how would you advise an organization to then prioritize their project?
Well, I think the organizations are always tempted to do the things that are most visible to the congregation or the community and their constituency, because that draws more interest to their project. And there's a danger in doing that, because you can throw good money after bad by doing the cosmetic work and then finding that you have serious structural issues or mechanical issues to deal with or moisture issues to deal with. And so you really need to tackle the things that will stabilize the building first, and then to move on to the things which are more visible, the painting, and the restoration of historic elements that may have vanished over time. So that's what I would advise, is the stabilization is those elements are really the most important things. In the case here, we know the heating system is something that is going to need to be repaired. It's something that's not visible, but if the building isn't heated, it will not survive well, given the New England climate that we all deal with. Well, it's vital for a number of reasons, because the well-being of the structure itself, keeping it acclimatized so that mold doesn't grow, and things don't contract and expand in ways that are hard on finishes, is all important. But even more so, if the building isn't heated, you can't use the building. And so you can't serve the needs of the congregation, to have people here. You can't hold large-scale events for the community, which we do often. If it's cold, nobody wants to be here. Of course, we're all dealing with that right now in COVID anyway, and managing, but you can't have the large gatherings that you really need if you don't have a heated facility. So it's really important, although not glamorous.
Could you tell us a little bit about maintenance plans and why they're different than preservation?
Maintenance plans are really intended to deal with the routine things that you have to deal with on a regular basis to prevent problems, minor problems, from becoming major problems. Painting, gutter cleaning, window washing, just the regular things that you would do in your own house, but on a much larger scale. And you do this on a yearly basis. You develop a checklist so that you go through the same list every year to make sure that the things have at least been looked at, if something is found, then dealt with in a timely fashion.
Tell us a little bit more about the three different types of reports: the maintenance plan, the preservation plan, and the condition assessment, and what kind of expertise is needed to create each type of plan, if some can be produced internally or if others require professional expertise.
Well, we'll start with the maintenance plan, because this is something that every organization needs to have. It can be developed internally, working with a properties committee and the on-staff person if they have one. Municipalities have a staff that can develop these, and they all can work with local contractors to put the steps in place to do yearly or monthly maintenance, whatever the facility requires. But on the larger scale, we need to prepare the conditions assessment first, and out of that, the preservation plan is then developed. So the conditions assessment needs to be produced by preservation professionals, either an architect or a preservationist, and they would work with the disciplines that are required depending on the problems that they see in the structure. Once you have the condition assessment, you then can prioritize what projects you want to tackle first, and then the others to follow, and you would need then to hire the professionals appropriate to whatever the project is, whether it's a furnace replacement, a mechanical engineer, or whether it's structural aspects that would require both an architect and a structural engineer to be involved.
So other than providing good planning and strategic goals, you mentioned that a good preservation plan can save both time and money. Since preservation planning is an additional upfront cost, can you elaborate on how these costs can actually save money and time in the future for organizations?
Well, I think there are several good reasons to get your plan in place, your conditions assessment in place, because it helps you to identify the projects that need to be taken care of immediately, as opposed to ones that can be delayed based on funding. You can strategically group projects together in a way that you can gain by making a larger project. You can save money because you're doing more at one time, and not doing things out of order that would require you to go back and tear out something that you had just fixed. So that's the third aspect, really, is to deal with them in a systematic way so that you're not having to go back to go forward 2 more steps. The other reason really is that the SHPO's office really requires that you have a conditions assessment in place before applying for additional grant monies to move forward on a preservation plan, whatever problem it is you're trying to solve, whether it's painting or roofing or a new furnace system.
We've discussed how preservation planning benefits organizations in their capacity building, but can you talk a little bit about how preservation planning helps protect historic resources?
Yes, I mean, most of these organizations that we're talking about and even, I think even municipalities too. The people engaged either as a volunteer or even as paid staff members all come at these preservation projects with different views about what's important. And by getting an outside objective professional to work with them, you have somebody who has a much wider range of experience and has seen a lot of problems or different kinds of preservation projects, so they can bring that experience to bear in developing a plan that takes some of the personalities out of it and gives it more weight, so that an organization is more likely to be able to focus behind it, and in the long run then protect the historic resource itself from insensitive alterations that misguided by people who just don't know better. So having that professional involved, I think, is really a very important step for any organization.
To summarize what we've learned in this video, preservation planning is essential to the success of any historic preservation project. Most projects should begin with the development of a base knowledge of the historic, structural, and mechanical elements of a building, often through a document known as a condition assessment, which is developed by a qualified architect or preservation professional. Preservation planning and project planning generally can develop out of that condition assessment. Every organization should have a maintenance plan, which details the various steps taken monthly, quarterly, or annually to ensure that the building is in good repair and remains so. A good maintenance plan should take steps to monitor the various parts of the building as a preventative measure against long-term damage or neglect. As of 2022, when this video is being recorded, the State Historic Preservation Office offers funding that can be applied to the development of condition assessments and maintenance plans. Funding through the Survey and Planning Grant can be used for eligible projects related to properties listed on the state or national register of historic places. Information on the SHPO's Survey and Planning Grant can be found on their website.